Thank you, Sean. And I want to acknowledge, of course, we're on the territory of the Algonquin people. You know, I have to mention, too, Sean was one of the first people to congratulate me. And I had worked with Sean and a number of you in this room, Lionel I'm thinking of particularly, as we confronted not just a pandemic when I was at Natural Resources, but an oil price war. And I said then to them, the most creative, most effective, and best solutions that we got through that thing, for both those things, was for people in this room. And that is still the case. I look at Lyle Daniels out there from the Alberta Building Trades, and he still gives me the best advice, particularly on Indigenous issues and how that fits together with labor shortages and some of the things we can be doing. And I remember seeing Sean after I was at Trades NL, Darren King and everybody, a few days after I was sworn in, and Sean said, "Congratulations, Sean Strickland, can I talk to you about the labor mobility tax credit?" You're subtle.
No, I'm not subtle.
No, you are not subtle. Listen, Canada's facing some big challenges. We're facing some complex challenges. We've got a housing crisis. We've got a climate crisis. We're scraping through, I think you could call it a public health crisis. There's one group, I think, that we can give credit to for getting us through this pandemic, if you were to single out one group, and that's workers, particularly healthcare workers. Doctors, nurses, PSWs. I'm the son of a nurse, so I usually say nurses first, just in case my mother's in the crowd. Public health administrators, contact tracers. And it's no different than a lot of other challenges that we're facing. Who is going to do the work? Who's going to build the affordable homes that Canadian families are crying out for? Who's going to retrofit the grid and keep the lights on? Who else has the knowledge and the expertise and the ingenuity to lower emissions and build up renewable energy sources? It's all on you guys. Not to put any pressure. But you are not in this alone. That is for sure. You know, the Prime Minister says, and he says it all the time, and he says it in Cabinet, and sometimes it's irritating, but he's right. Hard things are hard. Hard things are hard. Hard things require hard work. And no one knows hard work like you do. There is no one solution to housing affordability. And there certainly isn't any one solution to solving climate change or lowering emissions. But you can be sure that every single solution, every tool that we have, requires experience, it requires ingenuity, it requires expertise, and it requires hard work. Every single solution demands that we address the skilled labor shortage. We need talented people like you. We need a heck of a lot more of you. And we need strong unions that know how to invest in workers and amplify their voices. I know you heard from my colleague Eric Kazmierczak yesterday on our work to help unions train more skilled tradespeople. And that, I think that's, you know, I'm very proud, you know, first of all, that not only are we immediately investing another $7 million to help unions with training and innovation, but Sean, your subtle but effective lobbying effort worked. We heard you. We are creating a tax deduction that will be available this year to help you with the cost of travel and relocating for work. We need more of you, and we need you. We need to make it more affordable for you to go to where the jobs are. It's pretty simple. We're doing it because of the advocacy of this room. We're doing it because of the advocacy of the CBTU and because of your membership. We heard you loud and clear. That temporary relocation, it is a big part of the job. That you've had to decline opportunities when travel costs were high, where labor shortages persisted across the country. Well, it's time to fix that. So with the labor mobility tax deduction, up to $4,000 per year, recognized as eligible travel expenses for tradespeople. Applicable to this tax year and to everyone after that. Now, as many of you know, I am from Newfoundland. And I can tell you, every single flight that I go on out of St. John's, whether it's going to Toronto, whether it's going to Regina or Saskatoon or Edmonton or Calgary or Fort Mac, every one of those flights has men and women on it. A lot of them sitting next to me. Electrical workers, engineers, crane operators, iron workers. We're going to help make those trips more affordable by making them deductible at tax time. You know, I sat down with the IBEW leadership earlier this week, and what I heard from them is what I hear from workers everywhere. People are anxious. As we say in Newfoundland, the nerves are rub raw. They are rub raw from a pandemic, from forest fires, unprecedented in their scale, climate change, and now war in Europe. Unions, workers telling me one thing at every local that I have visited over these past 6 weeks. We want to make sure that we're at the table. You want to make sure that you're at the table. Well, to that, I say to you now, look around you. This is the table. This is it. Rooms like this. This is the table. Your union halls are the table. Your lunchrooms are the table. You know, economists and demographers can point out how many houses we need to build, and climate scientists can build projections for carbon emissions and where we're going and where we need to pivot, and politicians can put a spotlight on these issues. We can call people to action. We can invest in solutions in the private sector. We can build public programs to help you coordinate, but it's you. It's your membership who actually do the work, who actually know what you're doing. You know what to do. And that is the message that I tell my colleagues when we're looking for solutions. This is the message I tell businesses when they're hitting roadblocks. And I hope you guys know that. I want to briefly speak before I close my remarks, because so much of the anxiety, and one of the reasons the Prime Minister has asked me to continue in labor with just transition, is he knows something that I've been very public about too. I suffered from significant anxiety and depression and got through it. You know, people who have suffered it know you never quite get through it. You deal with it. I'm dealing with it. I deal with it pretty well. But I can tell you, it has now become my life's mission in politics to make sure that people don't have to feel any more anxious than the world already makes them feel. What can I do in what I do and what I say to lower anxiety? People got enough going on. And that was before a pandemic. That was before a war in Europe. And let me just speak to just transition, which I don't know if the senator is still here, with all due respect, can't stand the phrase. I say that quite often. Because you can't stand the phrase. Because your membership doesn't like the phrase. Because it causes anxiety. There is no master plan that the government has right now that's going to be codified in legislation that says, these are the workers we need and these are the workers we don't, and this is what's happening. This is going to be the next 30, 40 years of this country. We are the fourth biggest producers of oil and gas in the world. It affects every single corner of this country, not just mine, not just Alberta, not just Saskatchewan, all of us. It is the single biggest part of our economy. It is the single biggest export of this country. You know this. A lot of people don't. But that just means we've got to tell them. I say, you know, to my colleagues all the time, because they're used to hearing me do this, I'm always pointing out obstacles. But that does not make me an obstructionist. That makes me a Newfoundlander. That makes me a Labradorian. I grew up in both, by the way, so I can actually say that. You grow up, though, in the subarctic of Labrador, in a town of 8,000 people with no roads going in and out, or the other half of my childhood, which was on a rock in the middle of the North Atlantic. Trust me, you learn how to be practical. You do not have the privilege or the luxury of ideology. You go to where the work is. You deal with the world as it is. So the challenges before this country on transforming our energy system is monumental. And the solutions to it are in this room. Not just the membership now, but the membership in a generation from now and the one after that. It doesn't mean we're any less urgent about it. It doesn't mean it's any less important. You know that. It just means we've got to be very clear-eyed about how we do it. And I am clear-eyed. Clear-eyed. We won't do a thing without you. You have my word on that. You have the word of the Prime Minister on that. So I mean what I say. There is no more talk of we want to be at the table. This is the table, okay? This is the table. We have an extraordinary chance not just to do what we need to do in lowering emissions and building up renewables. We have an extraordinary chance to show the world how it's done. The world's eyes are watching us. They know that a generation and a half ago when we asked workers in this country to figure out how to get oil out of sand, boy, they did it. And we went from being a bit player to being the 4th biggest producers of oil and gas in the world. When I was writing speeches for Brian Tobin, when he was Premier of Newfoundland and we had Hibernia's first oil, we didn't know what we were doing. The president of ExxonMobil Canada told me there is no harsher environment in the world that his company operates in globally than Newfoundland's offshore. And the last time I flew back and forth to Ottawa and happened to sit next to an oil worker. His name was Owen. He's 33. He was on his way to Mozambique, Africa, to show him how it's done. That's what you did in a generation and a half. And where sometimes the government gets it wrong is we did not do enough to tell workers in this country, our oil and gas workers, well done. We're proud of you. We are proud of what you did. How the heck are we going to bring people on board to our next great national mission of showing the world how it's done in lowering our emissions and building up renewables if we don't have workers on our side? So well done. Now, every bit of the hard work and the ingenuity and the expertise and the sheer bloody-mindedness that you showed in making us the 4th biggest producers of oil and gas in the world, flying to Mozambique to show them how it's done, we need you now. We need you to help us figure out how we lower these emissions and how we build up renewables. We need you. You're the only ones to do it. The rest of it is bumper sticker goddamn politics. You're the ones to do it. So I will be your champion in this cabinet because I need you, because the country needs you. And we are deeply, deeply grateful that we have you. Thank you very much, everybody. Merci beaucoup.